Okay, good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here with us today. My name is Kim. I am the Children and Young Adult Consultant with the Connecticut State Library. Thank you so much for being here. And I am quickly going to mute myself and turn this over to Valerie, who is here with us from Girls Who Code. For those of you who don't know, the Connecticut State Library does partner with Girls Who Code. Girls Who Code has been changing and adapting as we've sort of been navigating the waters of this pandemic and what that's meant for in-person programming. They've even grown their programming. I think at one point it was just kind of grades 6 to 12, but now they've gone down to, I believe, grades 3 to 5, so we can start to get those young folks in. Valerie, thank you so much for being here with us today, and it is your show.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for the warm welcome, Kim, and thank you all for joining. I am so excited to connect with you all. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen now. Here we go. Perfect. So you should be able to see that now. Again, thank you for joining us. I'm Valerie. I'm the Community Partnerships Manager here at Girls Who Code. So that means that I support community leaders, librarians, educators, and other organizations bring free coding activities to their communities. I'm particularly passionate about bringing coding to communities and empowering those who don't have computer science background to bring these activities to their communities, because anyone can learn to code. Anyone can do this. So really excited to introduce some of the resources that we have to all of you today. I do have a check-in sign in here at that bit.ly link. Feel free to sign up if you want to get a copy of the deck, but I'll also make sure I connect with Kim at the end so that everyone can get the resources. But without further ado, let's jump in. So lots that I want to cover today in the next hour or so. I want to introduce the importance of gender equity in STEM, the gender gap in tech, and really where Girls Who Code comes into play with that. But I also want to talk through some ways to foster inclusive programming, ways that you can make sure that all of these activities are accessible to everyone in your community. And then we can also do a little preview of the Girls Who Code curriculum, what the activities look like, and give you a feel for what it actually is like to start a club, to actually go through some of these resources. So I'll do a nice walkthrough of our curriculum. Every single person on this call is eligible to use all of our materials and resources for free. So it really is my goal for today that everyone is able to access that, knows how to reach it all if you're interested, and that we can really address any questions that might come up in real time.
Valerie, can I just jump in real quick? Would you mind adding that bit.ly link to the chat? I tried to snag it, but I think I missed it.
Thank you for calling that out. Perfect. So I think that should be good. You might need to copy and paste it in. Thanks, Kim.
You.
Wonderful. And so I know a lot of you have started introducing yourselves in the chat already. It's been so exciting to see kind of the representation across the state that we have here. I would love to take a moment for those of you who haven't yet had a chance to introduce yourself to do so. And I also want to pose a question to the group, which is, what are 3 words that come to mind when you think of coding? I love this question. It doesn't have to be super technical. I often find some of the more like emotional or feeling responses to be really interesting. And I like to ask that question too, just because I find this to be a great place to share a little bit of my own background. I never took computer science when I was in high school or college. My introduction to STEM, particularly coding and computer science, was in my professional career. And so it was always something that was a little bit scary to me when I would think about coding. And even sometimes just like seeing images of, being like, how is this a language? I don't know how to read this. And so it's something that I sometimes feared a bit. But once I started to learn, and especially once I came to Girls Who Code, I found it so exciting and actually super creative. And so I think for a lot of people who might consider themselves kind of the arts side of things, it can be really empowering and exciting to see that STEM really connects really nicely with that. So would love to see those of you who kind of have initial reactions to STEM, if there are any words to come to mind, particularly when it comes to coding. Feel free to put that in the chat. Love wizardry. I often see magic when it comes to code. And so that's a favorite one of mine. video games, brainstorming, collaboration. Yes, we really emphasize the collaboration piece as well. A lot of what we do at Girls Who Code is breaking down stereotypes, and a lot of people have kind of the stereotype of a coder, of a guy in a hoodie by himself in a basement somewhere. And we really emphasize that actually it can be super collaborative, super fun, and super team kind of oriented. So thank you all. Feel free to keep on sharing in the chat, and I'm going to move into my next slide. So to start really simply, let's just take a look at a high level. What is coding? So to put it simply, coding is writing commands to instruct a computer to do something in a programming language that it can understand. So you're simply learning to speak the computer's language. We believe that coding is a great way to teach students valuable life skills. It's an endless process of trial and error to try to get the right code in the right place. So it requires resilience, imperfection. And as students tinker with these challenges, they learn that it's okay to make mistakes and to embrace them as learning opportunities, which helps them remain brave and resilient in the future. So let's take a look at the tech landscape. When we explore today's technological and career landscape, we see that there are over 500,000 open computing jobs in the United States, with 91% of these jobs located outside the Silicon Valley and offering an average salary of $100,000 annually. That's double the US average salary. Plus 67% of computing jobs are in non-traditional tech fields like medicine, entertainment, manufacturing, education, business, and more. However, we see a profound gap between the demand and skills workers. So fewer than 80,000 computer science graduates were in the United States in 2019. And so while computing jobs in the United States are growing at 3 times the rate of overall job creation, supply is failing to meet demand. So this means that there's tremendous opportunity where students in our communities can enter the tech field anywhere across the country. They can have great financial freedom and mobility, and they can also combine these skills with many diverse passions. Yet, through our research, we know that girls and non-binary students are being left out of promising computer science opportunities. In fact, for computer science graduates, fewer than 1 out of every 5 are women. This pronounced exclusion of women from computer science particularly impacts women of color. According to the National Center of Women and Information Technology, only 18% of female computer science and information science graduates are Black or Latinx. So this is where Girls Who Code, and more specifically addressing DEI, come in. Girls Who Code is a nonprofit leading the movement to close the gender gap in tech and change the image of what a programmer looks like and does. So through our free and flexible computer science resources, we're building the largest pipeline of girls and non-binary students and women to close the gender gap in tech. More than that, Girls Who Code is an organization that really values diversity, equity, and inclusion in our activities, in our resources, and really highlighting a wide range of role models and showing every single one of our students that a computer scientist looks like them. So we acknowledge that there are institutional barriers, that oftentimes there are education gaps, and we want to address all of those in our curriculum, in our activities, and in our resources. So this is the Girls Who Code community. We believe that once a student joins Girls Who Code through any of our programs, they're part of our sisterhood for life, and we are always there to support. So our main program and focus for today is going to be the Clubs program, which is the one that we found really works so well with our libraries. And so really excited for you all to be able to take advantage of those resources. But I'll quickly also share some of our other programs because you might have students that might find these interesting too. So our summer immersion program is a 2-week virtual summer program for high school girls and non-binary students to learn an introduction to computer science and also get an inside look into the tech industry. So they get to do some networking, get to go to some career talks, and just learn a bit about what it's like to be on the job in the tech field. The summer immersion program application goes up in a couple of months. We usually start recruiting in around January. So If you work with high school students at all, we'll make sure that you get a hold of that application too, so all of your students can take advantage of that. We also have Code at Home. These are free, downloadable, standalone activities. We actually started creating these in response to the pandemic when a lot of students were home and kind of looking for more ways to engage academically and maybe do kind of more kind of fun activities while expanding their learning. So these can be used at libraries, at schools, but also just at home, kind of a great resource that students can do with their families as well. And then I just wanted to touch on our alumni and career support. So like I said, it's a lifelong sisterhood here, and we're really committed to supporting students even after they've graduated high school. We have college supports, webinar series with internship tips, ways to connect with jobs and hiring opportunities. We also hosted our hiring summit recently, which was an event where we were able to connect our recent college graduates with potential employers. And so we're really thinking about that pipeline, not just providing kind of those educational pieces, but also supporting students once they're looking to enter the workforce. Like I said, we do support all girls and gender nonconforming students. We believe that everyone has the ability to change the world through code, and we aim to serve them all, especially those that are underrepresented in computer science in terms of race, creed, or background, are free and reduced lunch eligible, have little or no access or exposure to computer science, and those that identify as female, regardless of gender assignment at birth. I also do want to note that for our clubs program, students of all genders are welcome. I do always get the question, what about the boys? And the boys are welcome to join. We really believe that it's great for students of all genders to know that there are inspiring women in tech and that they too can be an advocate for gender equity. So like I said, the focus for today is going to be our clubs programs. Those are the ones that we've really seen have huge success at libraries. And so let's dig into that a little bit deeper. What are our clubs? So Girls Who Code clubs are free programs for 3rd through 12th grade students to join our sisterhood of supportive peers and role models and use computer science to change the world. This is what our educational philosophy looks like. There are a couple of things that we emphasize here. First off is more than code. So we're not just teaching students how to program, learning code for the sake of learning to code. We're teaching computational thinking. So how to break down problems and think creatively. These are helpful skills to have in any profession. And we're also empowering students to be brave and take risks, building that resiliency to tackle challenges. The sisterhood piece is where we let students know that they belong. Research has shown that having a supportive group to learn and grow with can help with retention. We also see that students feel supported through an emphasis on community and diverse representation in our curriculum. Once students join our supportive and diverse sisterhood, they're members for life, and they can always lean on Girls Who Code for anything, whether it's questions about applying to college to finding a connection at their dream job. And then finally, we prioritize real world relevance and impact. So we're showing students how they can use computer science to impact their community, to change the world. And we really want to empower them to use computer science skills no matter what they want to accomplish. So this is what our club's curriculum looks like, and Kim pointed out that we expanded to 3rd through 5th, and so now we have these 2 great curriculums that I think nicely cater to the different kind of age groups and learning needs of the different age groups. So our 3rd through 5th grade program actually follows a book club model, and it teaches beginner level concepts with the option of online or unplugged activities. These tend to be about 5 or more sessions. We've seen as little as 5, but sometimes as large as 10 or so. So the idea here is that you can look at your kind of calendar for the year and make the call on how many sessions works best for your group. Maybe you want to do a smaller session, maybe you want to do longer. Anything is really fine because it's super flexible in that way. The 6th through 12th grade program does tend to run a little bit longer. This is where we teach computer science concepts of all skill levels through flexible curriculum and self-guided tutorials. So these programs usually run for 10 sessions, sometimes longer, and usually are about an hour. per session. We've typically seen that clubs can run on like a semester model. So maybe you'll have a fall club and then a spring club and then a summer club. But like I said, very flexible. So you can take a look at what's working in your community when after school programming is typically running, or maybe weekend programming, morning, whatever works best for your community. Usually Girls Who Code can slot right into that. The most important takeaway, though, is that our programs are all designed so that anyone can start a club. No computer science experience is needed. So here's a further breakdown of what a typical club session might look like. Like I said, we really emphasize that anyone can start a club. And so we try to make it as easy as possible, minimizing any prep time and providing the agendas, meeting guides, even a script to follow for every single meeting. So you can really just take the resources and run with them. For the 3rd through 5th grade clubs, you can see that we kick them off with a sisterhood activity and then move into that book club portion. So we provide a reading, typically 1 chapter per meeting, and then we provide discussion questions that address how to be brave and resilient as you're learning about these computer science concepts. Then we provide coding challenges that can be done using Scratch, which is a block-based coding program, or we actually also have some offline activities. So depending on your access to technology, there are some activities that can also run offline. And then each ending ends with a stand-up, which is just an opportunity for reflection, feedback, and nurturing that growth mindset. 6 through 12 has some similar components, kicking things off with that sisterhood activity or icebreaker. Then we move into the Women in Tech Spotlights. This is where club members explore bravery, resilience, creativity, and use real life examples of computer scientists and women using computer science skills in a variety of fields. Then they move through the main portion of the club, which is the Girls Who Code project tutorials. And this is where they're honing their coding skills using programming languages like Scratch, Python, or Swift from Apple. And then similar to 3rd through 5th, they end that meeting with a stand-up. Another thing to call out too is that all of our clubs curriculum can run in person, hybrid, or virtual. So again, what's working at your library in your programming or just in your community, you're able to use those resources in any way. And so we really kind of make it up to you to make the call on what's working. Also, kind of always keeping in mind the state of the world, you know, that you can really have access to those materials no matter where you are. So let's talk about what you actually need to start a club. You just need 3 things. The first one being space. So you need just a room for the club to run. That could be at a library, community center, or school. We do really emphasize that it has to be in some kind of nonprofit space. Kind of our one rule there is that we just don't want a club running out of someone's house because we want it to be accessible to everyone. So libraries, schools, community centers, anything nonprofit works. Then you just need access to technology. So that could be Chromebooks, laptops, computers. Typically, whatever you have available at your site should work great because our curriculum is just on our website. So as long as you can access the internet, you can access all of the materials. And then finally, you need someone 18 or older to lead the club. We do require that there is a decision maker. So that is someone who is employed by the site. So you're either a librarian at your library, teacher at the school, that you're somehow employed by that site so that you can help out with space, just kind of the logistic pieces, things like that. But you're also welcome to bring in someone 18 or older from outside of your organization, if that makes sense for you. If there's a parent in the community that's really excited about this, a college student that wants to help out, we help out with those pieces too. So if you want to co-lead a club with someone in the community, we also help out with background checks there. So, you know, always encouraging if there are people that are excited that want to be part of this, that they're welcome to join and that will help them get settled. But once
Valerie,
yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to jump in. A lot of these questions I'm going to save for the end, but this one kind of fits with what you're saying. We had someone ask in the chat, I know you said it works on most platforms, but I was told it did not work on Apple products like iPads. Did you have something to add to that?
Oh yeah, excellent question. So we do have one program in particular that works with iPads. It's called Swift, that's Apple's coding language. So you are able to access the main curriculum on iPads, and then you can access the Swift coding tutorials. So it is a little bit more limited. You can't use some of our other coding tutorials, but there is something for you if you're using iPads. Generally, we found that if you do have Chromebooks or laptops, then you have the full range of everything, but we do have one kind of specific activity set that goes with the iPads. So great question there.
Thank you.
Wonderful. So perfect. And yeah, please feel free to keep throwing the questions in the chat. Happy to address any of those as we're going along. And then, so like I said, once you have those three things, and I see kind of the call out on, inviting outside volunteers, you can do that as well. We take care of everything else. So like I said earlier, we have the meeting guides, agendas, and scripts for every club meeting. We also have additional resources to help you get up and running. So we have student recruitment resources, so flyers, sample newsletter language, sample social media language. So you can just copy, paste, send things out to your community to help get the word out. We also have online trainings and tutorials. So if you are completely new to computer science and you want to build your own knowledge, we're happy to help you on that journey. Always happy to help you feel extra confident when it comes to talking about computer science concepts. And then we know that community is really important. So we're always thinking about ways to help kind of incentivize and kind of build that excitement around community. We do provide some free swag. So every single student, as well as the facilitators, receive a free t-shirt, notebook, and sticker. So that can be a great way to kind of get excitement up as well. We always, kind of encourage, if that'll help you get students excited, show photos of the free t-shirts, get them to come join. So we're always happy to give out free stuff as well. We also do host a variety of virtual events. We have occasional panel discussions, just opportunities to learn kind of best practices, what's working with other Girls Who Code clubs, so that you can kind of share that knowledge and kind of build out your own experience. So here we have just a little content preview. I won't go into too much detail here because I'm going to jump into the curriculum myself later, but you can see here just a little preview of what that looks like, and some of the resources on the right-hand side here. So, checklists, the webinar, registration flyers, and more. So lots to go into there in just a moment. Great, so let's move on to the next slide. So now we're going to move into some tips for fostering inclusive programming, some particularly useful, I think, activities that can be used both for Girls Who Code, but in other programs that you do as well, just ways to keep student engagement up and really think about kind of lines of difference and ways to really create that community within your programs. So here are some elements that we like to emphasize in our programs, and that we hope will be useful for you all as you build out your own programming too. So we talk about incorporating community building activities, including relatable representation, inclusive representation, connecting student learning to impact, elevating reflections to build a growth mindset, and then cultivating a strengths-based and inclusive culture. So these are kind of the 5 pillars that we think about in terms of best practices, things to incorporate. I'm going to go into just a couple examples of how we do some of these. So for community building activities, we provide, I think we have nearly 100 sample icebreakers that kind of fall into these different categories, either helping students get to know each other better, increasing communication skills, emphasizing teamwork, and then kind of inspiring creative thinking, so innovation activities. So we really encourage kicking off each club with an activity like this. Here's an example of an innovation activity. This is what we call pitch a product, where you split your room up into groups. Every team gets a random adjective and a random noun, and that becomes their product. They have a couple minutes to think of, okay, what is our product and how do we pitch it? And then they share it out with the group. This is a great way to get everyone comfortable speaking up as well, because if you are going to be pitching, you know, glitter coffee or bouncing potato to the class, you're going to feel comfortable asking questions about computer science as well, because kind of emphasizing that like sillier kind of comfort within the class, you know, it creates a space for then everyone is comfortable speaking up. There are no silly questions or stupid questions, no wrong way to ask about that. So great way to get everyone speaking and feeling comfortable. And yes, I agree. I would also try glitter coffee. Sounds great. For including relatable, inclusive representation, we do prompt you all to just ask some questions and to do a little audit of, you know, what does your representation look like? Are you building your program, ensuring that you are showing representation across all lines of difference? When you're showing role models and talking about role models, what does that actually look like? Are you asking questions and deepening the discussion? And so we provide all kinds of sample questions and discussion prompts to help you do that, as well as a wide range of kind of representation. So the way that we do that is through our Women in Tech Spotlights. This is where we provide a wide variety, nearly 100 different videos of female role models in tech. And then we provide those discussion questions to kind of kick off the conversation and help students relate that back to themselves. So here's an example of one. We have Meryl Coped. This is a great example of how tech can really stretch across all industries. This is a great example of where dance and coding were brought together. And so again, thinking about, you know, what are the interests of the students in your community? What's going to get them excited about code? And so here's an example of, you know, how you can use software engineering to actually create these intense, amazing, really cool dance performances using lights and colors and technology. And then I'm just taking a glance at the time, and I think we do have time to take a look at one of these sample videos, because I think it does give you just a good sense of what these are like. So I'm going to go ahead and play this one. All right. So as you can see, the videos are just so nicely produced. We've sourced them through NPR, IBM, all kinds of different organizations that have done these kinds of spotlights. And then we provide these sample discussion questions to kind of dig into this a little bit deeper. So it's not just watching passively, that students are challenged to really think about, you know, what ways can you use technology to change your life, to follow your dreams, to combine your passions. So like I said, we have nearly 100 of these. So lots of kind of different industries that we touch on, and you can really cater them, I think, to the interests of your students. So moving along a little bit, here is where we connect student learning to impact. So we really want to emphasize that real world relevance. And so when students are making their project tutorials, you know, they're learning how to make a website or an app or a game, but we challenge them to address a topic that they're passionate about while doing so. So you can see some examples on the right-hand side here of kind of websites or apps or programs that students have made. There's women of color in tech, climate crisis response, teen mental health awareness. And I also threw in the cat personality quiz because a lot of them are social justice focused, but you know, they don't necessarily have to be. And kind of really the main goal here is that students are finding ways to make something that they're excited about and that they'll have fun with. And so they can really do whatever they like. And the really exciting thing too is that they'll be able to walk away with something that they can show their parents, show their friends, that they actually made something that they wrap up the meeting in a nice It can really go a long way to kind of have these questions, especially with something like coding where, like I talked about before, you're not always going to get it on the first try, that there is this process of trial and error. And so sometimes you might get to the end of the meeting and maybe you didn't accomplish everything that you want to accomplish. And that's okay, that you can talk about it and say like, okay, so what do we want to do for next time? Where do we want to pick up when we meet again next week? And this can be a really great way of not only kind of creating this like positive ending to a meeting, but also instilling some skills that come to play in life. You're not always going to get to the end of the workday, maybe having checked off every single item on your to-do list, and that's okay. That you can make a plan for tomorrow, and that, that's part of the process, that there are always going to be things that come up or things that maybe take more time, and that coding is just like that, and that you can really kind of emphasize that piece in their learning. And then finally, we have celebrating successes and failures. So we really want students to build resilience, both in the ways that they're succeeding, but also maybe where they're facing challenges and where they were brave or resilient as well. We include within our curriculum kind of a lot of opportunities for celebration, whether that's doing like a project showcase or graduation at the end of the club. We're also starting to incorporate more clubs challenges. I'm not going to play this video just for sake of time. Actually, you know what? Maybe I will, because it is very short. So I'll play this real quick. This is our clubs challenge that's happening.
Introducing the first ever Girls Who Code Clubs Challenge. We are challenging you to design a game for a social justice issue close to your heart. Your game could be about voting rights, the COVID-19 pandemic, saving the bees, or any other issue that is important to you. The choice is yours. Just remember to use your voice, coding skills, and passion to inspire change. Good luck and game on. Submissions are due November 6th at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
So yeah, we just try to incorporate a lot of moments like that to kind of look forward to opportunities to win prizes or just celebrate. So we know that can go a long way, and we're always adding things to the curriculum, that is to say. And then the final piece here is building a strengths-based and inclusive culture. We really emphasize, so both with the fact that you don't have to have computer science background to lead a club, we also really push you all to encourage students to take ownership over their own learning and to see themselves as leaders within the club. So you can do that in a variety of ways. We really recommend having leadership positions. You can switch them out every meeting so that everyone gets a turn. These are some examples of some leadership opportunities that we've seen, but we've also seen have someone be in charge of leading the icebreaker, have someone in charge of choosing the Women in Tech Spotlight. There are a lot of different things that you can do to make everyone feel really part of the success of the club. So here's just a little reminder. These are kind of our 5 tips for fostering an inclusive club and program within your school or library. And we really do provide a lot of the resources there that you can use in your club, but also you can use in other ways too if you find them helpful. Okay, so now kind of the fun part, we get to move into the actual curriculum. And I think this is where we'll get to address a lot of the questions that I've kind of been keeping an eye on in the chat. So we can start to get a little more interactive, I think, now that you all have sort of that high level introduction. I did want to take a moment and invite you, if you're interested in following along on your own, you can go to hq.girlswhocode.com. And that's where our curriculum lives, just on our website right there. And so if you want to follow along in a separate screen, you're welcome to sign up now and kind of ask questions in real time. When you create an account and log in, you'll be able to see a preview of our curriculum. So it won't be the full thing, because you do just need to fill out a quick application for that, but you'll be able to see a good portion of it. And it might raise some questions that we can address today. So please feel free to go ahead and follow along if you'd like. And then I'm going to just jump over to HQ. So once you're logged in, this is what you'll see once you've kind of entered the program. You can see just at the top here, this is where we put some of our announcements. So there's a club training coming up on November 3rd. We try to always host kind of live virtual opportunities so that you can connect with other facilitators. We also have Clubs Challenge that I mentioned a moment ago, and then a little welcome. But that being said, once you're signed up, you should see your club down here. These are just sample clubs that I use for testing purposes, so that's why they have very generic names. But if you were to sign up, you would see the name of your library or your school or whatever other nonprofit you might be affiliated with. So let's jump in and do a little walkthrough. We can start with the 6th through 12th, and then we can take a look at the 3rd through 5th as well. And let me just take a quick look and see if there are any questions while this is loading. Looks like we're pretty good. Some of these I think will come up naturally. So, all right, so here is our 6th through 12th grade curriculum. You can see the first place it kind of drops you off is our facilitator toolkit. This is the one-stop shop for getting your club set up. We have your plan, your club checklist. These are kind of a variety of best practices and to-do list items. So some of the things here, like bookmark this page. You don't have to do that, but we find it helpful. So then if you're ever in a club meeting, you don't have to be looking around for the resources. The Launch Your Club Facilitator Training, definitely recommend that one. That's kind of a deep dive of the curriculum, places to go, how to get set up. Definitely recommend looking at that. We also have some tips around, securing your space, figuring out when you're going to meet, figuring out those logistical things. If you're going to invite other facilitators to support you in running the club, kind of some tips around that, how to add other staff to join the club. Let's see, the Launch Your Club webinar. So like I said, really recommend watching this. This is kind of our first step that we say, so once you sign up to start a club, typically recommend just jump right into the webinar. It'll be a good way to get kind of settled, get a lay of the land. So we have the recording here. It's just a YouTube video, so you can watch it whenever you want. You can pause it if you need. You can also up the speed if you want to watch it faster. You're welcome to do that. But then we also do have the full slide deck here, along with a link to the speaker notes. So if you just prefer to read through it yourself, you can do that too. So lots of opportunities there. Moving along a little bit, let's see, I can show you some of our student recruitment resources. So like I said earlier, we really have all the resources to help you get started. So we have flyers that you can download, email out, put on your website. We even have an info session deck. So if you want to host a little kind of intro to Girls Who Code, maybe for students who aren't quite sure if they want to join. We have a whole slide deck here, speaker notes that you can follow, student recruitment tips, how to spread the word, student sign-up flyers, printer-friendly ones. We really try to think of everything that you might need, sample infographics, logos, all of that. And so, all of these are at your disposal to really use however you'd like to spread the word. So let's see, moving along a little bit. Oh, and I did see that there was a question around high schools versus libraries. We are in high schools all over the country, middle schools, elementary schools. So our programming definitely works well in those settings as well. We've typically seen that at the high school level too, it can fit in really nicely like any other kind of after school club would. So, maybe students are on the school paper, they play a sport, and they do Girls Who Code. It can fit in a very similar way, especially with kind of the built-in leadership opportunities. Sometimes we'll see that, there might be a desire to have kind of a president, vice president structure, if that's what happens at your school. So absolutely works well there, very much plug and play. So can fit into a variety of communities. Let's see, moving along a little bit more, we also do have a recorded demo virtual session. So if you do just kind of want to see a sample of a club, you can watch this. This is a virtual one. So part of the reason why we made this one was towards the beginning of the pandemic, when a lot of clubs were shifting to virtual. We just wanted to have that resource available, tips and tricks for facilitation there. But then I think we can move into our meeting guides. So as you can see here on the left-hand side, essentially each meeting has its own little section. When you click into meeting 1, all the resources pop up right there. We have kind of this planning page that you can start off with that just gives you a little overview, what's happening in this meeting, kind of what are the topics of discussion going to be. We provide an agenda with sample timing. This is helpful too if you think that you might need to adjust something. So if maybe you know that your meeting is going to be longer or shorter, you can figure out if, okay, you know what, let's make the icebreaker a little bit shorter this time so we can spend more time on this other section. You're able to customize things however you'd like. And we even have recommendations for if you do need to customize kind of tips for which activities are easiest to shorten or extend if you need to do that. Let's see, we provide tips around materials, and then we also do a little vocab preview. So again, if you're new to computer science, you're not going to be caught off guard by any of the topics that are discussed, so that you can take a quick glance at, okay, what words are we going to be using, and, you know, are any of these new to me? You can see that as you move into the meetings, the first meeting tends to be a little bit more of an introduction, getting a lay of the land. But in meeting number 2, this is where we have an activity called Find Your Focus. And this helps you to both do an icebreaker activity, but also get a feel for what topics are kind of most interesting to your group and start to feel out what you might want to build. So this activity helps you narrow that down. And by the end of the activity, you should have decided as a group what you want to make, whether that's a website or an animation or a quiz game or something else. This is the activity that will help you do that. And then you'll be able to move into the project tutorials. And so we have guidance and support for how to move into that, but you'll be able to scroll down a little bit, and then all the project tutorials are down in this section. And so again, depending on what they decided that they're going to make, you'll then follow based off of this. So let's say the group decided we want to make a cat personality quiz or some other type of quiz. You'll be able to move into these tutorials, and you can see that they also have the timing here. So we have a kind of a 15-minute and 10-minute intro just to get the lay of the land. And then you're able to move into each meeting doing one of these parts. So maybe for one meeting, you'll start with Scratch Basics. This is an activity that takes 45 minutes. And again, you can adjust, you can make it longer or shorter, but this will help you kind of have that timing. And then you're able to just follow right along. And so you can even just read off of this page and follow this script to a T as you introduce this to your students. And, you know, it's definitely designed, you know, we have sample videos too. So if you get stuck on anything, we can help sort of figure it out, but lots of fun stuff for students to dig into. And then they really get to spend that 45 minutes getting comfortable with the concepts. And you're able to do this, you know, you can walk around the room, check on how people are doing, or you can be doing it as well and learning alongside the students how to do block-based programming. Let's see, I think that there was a question earlier that was related to this.
There was one, someone asked if the slide deck can be edited for their audience. Is that possible?
Yes, so the slide decks are just on Google Sheet or Google Slides. So you can just download it and edit it. You can take out slides, you can add slides, and there are actually even sections where you can add in, you know, we're meeting Wednesdays at 4 o'clock, and you can put in timing, things like that. Oh, and then the other question that I saw that I wanted to answer is about building on previous lessons. And so there is an element of, you know, where students are building on what they're learning. And so if a student does miss a lesson, they might miss, you know, kind of some conversation that happens, but they're able to join right back in. And they also will have access to all of this. And so they can always just do a quick read through of, okay, what did they talk about last time? Okay, I'm good, I can jump in now. And then we also have, depending on kind of what works best for your group. There are a variety of activities, and so we do also have these activity sets. And so the activity sets are kind of standalone activities, so you can do a different one each time. So again, based off of the Find Your Focus activity, depending on what you want to build, you know, maybe you're kind of doing different activities each week, or maybe you're building out one larger project like a website or a game. So yes, it's okay if a student misses a lesson, they'll be able to just jump in the next time. If they want to go through things on their own, they're able to access all the information, and so they can work on it kind of asynchronously if that is of interest to them. But otherwise, you know, as a group, you have that content ready to go and you're able to move along. You're also welcome to kind of take your time with things too. So if you don't finish something, you know, one lesson, you can continue it next time. So plenty of kind of customization available there. Let's see. So I also, so I did want to pop over to the 3rd through 5th curriculum just to show you what that one looks like. And let's see. Here we go. So 3rd through 5th, very similar. Just like for the 6th through the 12th, you'll have your facilitator toolkit. You'll have your own checklist, your own webinar, student recruitment resources. The one difference there, though, is that instead of meeting 1, meeting 2, meeting 3, you see it's chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. So typically 1 chapter per meeting. You're able to click right into that. You'll similarly find kind of that welcome page, vocab that's going to come up, and then instructions. So, all right, for this first meeting, we're starting off with pages 11 through 18, and then we're going to have these discussion questions. Then we provide activities that you'll be able to move through, either through Scratch or unplugged ones, depending on what devices are available. And so I do see a good question there around devices. So depending on what is available, if your library or classroom is equipped with technology, then that can make it easy where, you know, they can just use what is provided. We also have seen that since, you know, if you're with a school or if all of the students are with a school where Chromebooks are provided or where they have access to technology, they can bring it. But we do typically recommend, just for that accessibility piece, that if you are able to provide the technology, if it is available at your library or at your school or at your community center, that is preferred, so that you know, there isn't really an issue with maybe some students have the devices and some don't, because we try to think about that accessibility piece. If your library has limited technology, so let's say you have 5 computers that can be used, but 10 students sign up, you can do paired programming where maybe you have 2 students per device and they can share. That can be great for collaboration too. So if there are challenges with that, like kind of one-to-one, there are ways to be creative around that. Great. So let's see. Oh yeah, I did just want to show you what the passages look like. So in the past, we actually used to mail out the books to everyone. We found that was a little bit challenging though, because then if a student joined halfway through the club, then they didn't have a book, and you know, it was always just a little tricky. And so our solution now is that just our full book library is just available in PDF format. So you're able to access everything right here in PDF form. Every student can have it on their screen, or they can print them out. You can have them project it in the front of the room. There are a lot of different pieces there. And let's see, question for how many sessions total? So again, it is very flexible. This is something that you can figure out kind of at the beginning of your club. You can see here that we do have 10 chapters, so you could do 1 chapter per session, and then maybe the sessions are a little bit shorter, maybe they're like 40 minutes. But if you want your sessions to be a little bit longer, then you might move through 2 chapters per meeting. So I would say kind of take a look at the timing. You know, again, you're able to get access to all of this whenever you'd like. So you can kind of click through and then make the call on what works best. We do also have resources in the facilitator toolkit for kind of building that out. kind of around preparing to launch the club and getting set up. And then also with the activities, they do extend for as long or as short as you want. So if let's say even you get through the book a little bit early, you can continue doing those scratch activities for longer. So there's always going to be more activities that you can do. Currently, we have 2 books in our curriculum. And so we have the Learn to Code and Change the World, and then the Friendship Code. So typically we might see, depending on how frequently you meet, that maybe you would do Learn to Code and Change the World in the fall semester, and then the Friendship Code in the spring. But if your club meetings are a little bit more spread out, maybe this year you do you do Learn to Code and Change the World, and then maybe next year you move into the Friendship Code. So again, it's very flexible, and then we're always adding new activities. So our goal is to next year add another book so that we can kind of continue to include new content because we want to make sure for the 3rd through 5th that they're able to continue. And then of course, once they get through 6th grade, there's just endless curriculum and content. So let's see. I see a couple questions. Anything else that I didn't get to? So there was a question around kind of like what support that we provide compared to in the past. So our big giveaway for this year in terms of kind of outside support is the t-shirt, notebook, and sticker. So in the future, we hope that we can do more like snacks and things like that. We're always kind of thinking about additional support. But for this year, we're sticking with kind of that little packet. It's like a welcome packet. So it'll be the t-shirt, stickers, and notebook. Is there a maximum number of members that you recommend? That's a great question. So it kind of comes down to a classroom management there. We've seen clubs as small as 3 students and then as large as like 30. We've typically found with like the classroom management piece that once you get up into those bigger numbers, it can get a little tricky. And so we might even recommend splitting it up in that case. Another question that might come up too is just access to technology. So, you might have limited devices. And so for that reason, it might make sense to have a cutoff at maybe 15. We've typically found that, kind of 10 to 15 seems to be a nice sweet spot of the group feeling really comfortable speaking up and asking questions and collaborating while also kind of having it easy for 1 or 2 people to manage the room. I did just want to jump over back to my presentation real quick, just to show a quick intro of what do you actually have to do if you want to get access to all of that? So I know that we shared the link to HQ. If you're actually ready to get access to the full version, you do just need to submit a quick application to girlswhocode.com/clubsapply. Like I said earlier, we do want to make sure that anyone who is using our curriculum is affiliated with a library or a school or a nonprofit. So we're really just checking for that. We just want to make sure that if you're looking to get access to the curriculum, that you're 18 or older and that you have that space to run a club. So it's pretty easy to get that access. The application can usually be filled out in about 5 to 10 minutes. It's very quick. You can indicate on the application that you're affiliated with the state library as well. And then that way, Kim and myself can also kind of keep in touch and make sure that you're supported. And then, once you fill out that application, you get access to everything. You can continue to ask questions. Filling out the application does not mean that you have to start a club tomorrow. You can really take your time with it. You could even start, you could fill out the application today and start your club in January if you want to. There's really no kind of pressure around that. So you can take a look at kind of your program calendar, what makes sense. So let's see, questions. You can always reach out to me via email. My email is just valerie@girlswhocode.com. I'll connect with Kim and make sure that you all get a copy of the deck. If you had a chance to fill out that bit.ly link earlier, I'll also be able to get it to you that way. But I know probably not everyone had a chance, so no worries. I'll make sure that you all get it. And then I know we're almost at time, but any other questions? are clubs expected to report back? Great question. So like I said, it's really, we're all about providing the resources. The one piece where you do have to just share some information is at the very beginning of the club, we just ask around how many students are in the club, and then that way they're each able to get access to the curriculum too, and that helps us send out those t-shirts. So, if we don't know if any students are participating, then we can't send the t-shirts. So that's really the only piece. We do a survey at the end of the year that's optional. That's helpful for us and just always making our curriculum better. But, we're really just all about making it easier for you all. We're not going to come banging on the door, demanding that your club starts at a certain time. It's really just about, you having access to the materials and using them however works best in your community. Yeah, and so again, just please feel free to send an email if you ever have any questions. Let's see, question around the 3rd through 5th. The amount of time. So it really depends. We've found that since the chapter, you can usually move through the chapter in about like a half hour or so. And so then it kind of depends on how long you want to spend on the Scratch activities. Scratch is really fun. I love to tinker around with it. And so we found that you can really easily extend it to an hour, especially when you're doing those activities. I didn't mention this earlier too, but we do also have curriculum experts that reach out to you. So once you submit the club's application, you're going to get an email from one of our curriculum experts at Girls Who Code, and they're going to check in with you and help you figure out those logistics too. So I help you kind of get started, but then we also have a whole team that kind of helps you with those logistics, any kind of specific troubleshooting questions that pop up. So we're always kind of here to support and help.